If you want to actually do inner work, process emotions and stress stored in the body and nervous system, then this video is for you. So, in the previous video, I explained why our emotional patterns don't change just because we understand them. But here I want to show you what working with them actually looks like. So, as always with my approach, this isn't about fixing yourself. It's learning how to be with what's already happening within you in a way that actually allows it to shift. So I'm going to walk you through the core process I use here. So the first step is allowing. And rather than step like an action step, this is more like the form of a physical exercise. So it's not something you do and then move on. You keep returning to it because everything else depends on it. Think of allowing like a posture you take. It's something just like with physical posture, you become more conscious of it in the beginning, but gradually over time you adapt, you understand it more deeply. It's the orientation you bring to what's happening inside of you. So allowing doesn't mean doing nothing, nor is it sitting in and forcing yourself to dwell inside a feeling. It's subtle, right? It's really the absence of that internal push to make your feeling change or go away. Now, most of us are almost always pushing, trying to change, at least in a subtle way. And this makes sense because, of course, you want some relief or something to change. That's why you're doing this work in the first place. But when there's a pressure for things to be different than they are, your body, your nervous system, they don't feel like they're being related to. They feel like they're being managed. And how good did it feel when you were younger and you were getting this message like, you need to change, you're not okay the way you are right now? It's a way to help ground it. So allowing is noticing that pressure that you're having towards yourself and your emotions and softening it. Allowing allows you to back off from a feeling. It allows resistance to be felt because you're allowing it. It's not a feeling in and of itself or a movement in itself. When you are allowing what's there, you are in what I called in the previous video, the relationship mindset. Unlike the repair mindset, which is I need to fix and change everything I'm feeling. You can't overdo allowing because it isn't a forced action. This is the one thing you can't quote unquote do too much of. You'll know you're allowing when the internal pressure eases, even slightly. It doesn't mean all uncomfortable feelings are gone. It's just that you're no longer fighting the experience you're having. That's the foundation. Everything kind of builds from here. Now, we want to give a practical example of this. So choose your trigger in terms of a particular text message you might get, right? Maybe it's one where you can't quite read the tone of it. It's like a one-word reply like fine. Or maybe it's passive aggressive or active aggressive, right? Just let yourself bring that to mind. You probably have one example. And notice how there's an urge, almost like an instinct in the body to, I got to figure this out, right? We mentally want to solve the problem. What's the response? What do I need to do to kind of make this go away? Allowing is not thinking. It is letting yourself notice the emotional experience. And before jumping into the solution or even what it means, it's like, okay, this feeling is here. I'm allowing this to be here, being present before I jump on the train of we need to solve this. Those thoughts will still arise. The sort of expert mode version of this is chronic symptoms, right? Where they are present. It's not just a trigger that comes and goes. Practicing like, okay, this pain, this sensation, this experience is here. I'm going to practice softening that constant, what do I do? How do I fix it? What's the research, right? It's an art form, but there's huge power in it. It is the foundation. Now, aside with allowing here, some people, especially those who are meditators, can get very good at observing the feelings. They can notice the thoughts, but observing thoughts and feelings is not necessarily allowing. There can be this subtle movement of like, I'm distancing myself. I'm moving back from it. And it can feel like, oh, I'm just allowing it to be there, but you're not allowing the movement to be felt or to move away from. It's this constant state in just observation. So with that same text message, it's like, okay, there's some emotion coming up, but I kind of have gotten good at moving back away from the feeling and just sort of, okay, I'm just watching all this reaction come up, which is better than just jumping into the reactivity, but it is a subtle distinction. So now, what's the next step once we can be a little present with what we're feeling? That is inviting curiosity. That's not something you force. It's more of a shift, once again, in how you're relating to what you're experiencing. One thing I like to remember is that even the very fact that we have this inner world of emotional experience, reactions, patterns, it's actually kind of fascinating that it even exists at all, if you let yourself notice that. When curiosity comes from this place of like, I'm an explorer of this inner world, it can feel a lot more organic and natural. And you're not going to be asking questions to try to fix something, but more of a listening to understand what's actually happening here. As we talked about in that earlier foundation video, these reactions within us, they're there for a reason, right? They are protective mechanisms. They actually are trying to tell us something, even if it doesn't seem that way. So when you approach your inner world this way, your questions are a lot more sincere. So instead of an interrogation, it's a little more like, hey, what feels threatened here? What am I afraid is going to happen? What feels at stake? What does this remind me of? The answers may not come as crystal clear thoughts. They can be sensations, images, other, perhaps deeper emotions. So let's say that text example again. The curiosity might be, wait, what about this message feels so upsetting to me? What am I imagining that they're thinking? Do I think maybe they're annoyed? If I respond the wrong way, they might dislike me or get upset, right? So you're allowed the feeling and then you're a little curious. Wait, what's really going on here for me? Now, once you can do that, or you've invited some of that curiosity, you have probably heard the phrase before, feeling equals healing. With this foundation of allowing in place, this is where it becomes real. Right? We discussed earlier, many of the foundations of the feelings that we still feel today, they're there because when we were younger, they were too big for us to really completely feel and process. So they literally stay as unfinished processes in your system. When you let yourself consciously feel now, even a small amount, without forcing it, your nervous system learns through direct experience, not through trying to convince it, that these feelings that were once too big are now safe to feel. As that happens, little by little more can come up, and eventually these experiences can complete. So you don't try to force that to happen. It's just you stay present, let yourself feel. The body can do what it couldn't before. Each time, even briefly, you do this, try to remind yourself something is actually changing. This literally communicates to the nervous system that we can update. We can feel a little more than we could. Big difference in that between like, am I just wallowing my feelings? No, not when you're allowing it and you say, okay, I'm going to allow myself to feel what's actually here. Remember that term adult capacity in the foundation video, right? That's what this refers to. There's an ability to feel a little more than you could when you were younger. So let's make it practical again. That text example, you've asked a question like, what am I afraid will happen here? Okay, I'm afraid they might be upset with me. Yeah, there's a feeling of fear there. There's a feeling of vulnerability. Say, okay, I'm going to let myself actually feel this. Be open to the possibility that the feeling of anxiety this is bringing up is part of an incomplete process. So if I let myself feel this, I'm telling my system, it's okay to feel this. We don't have to rush to solving the problem with trying to find perfect text or saying it's their problem, not my problem, right? So now, what's the next step? Well, notice that you're curious about what you're feeling, you're allowing. At no point have I talked about any kind of techniques like breathing, tapping, etc. That's intentional. Everything so far has been about creating the right conditions for change. And this is where you bring in the tools that can help support this process. Now, you might be using a tool the entire time with this foundation, but this is an important distinction. So on this channel, I do use a lot of EFT tapping, largely because it translates well into a pre-recorded video. But it's important to understand the broader context of how I'm using it and what it's doing. I don't tap to get rid of a feeling, to override or try to force in a positive emotion, right? There is research on this now that tapping sends a signal that the body, like it actually picks up more of a sense of safety. There's a calming action to it, and more on these specific points than like placebo points. So the way I use this is it helps us to stay present with that experience that was once overwhelming. So that big emotion is here, and the tapping helps the body ground a bit to say, I'm allowing this to be felt right now. It can help with the curiosity and the allowing. Okay, I'm allowing myself to recognize this is here, accessing some questions. Good tapping practitioners do, a fair amount of this organically. But tapping for me isn't the process. It supports this deeper process, which is the mechanism behind any approach. And again, it helps you feel rather than fight or avoid. I do not think of any one technique as the answer. It's this process. So sometimes working with me one-on-one, it's not through tapping rounds. There can even be silence. There can be talking and pacing to help support this overall. Let's allow, let's be present. Let's connect to what's really going on here. Tools don't change things magically. They help create the conditions where change can happen. When you understand this, you will chase less for like, oh, this technique I've heard is super amazing. Oh, this new hot new technique is going to be the thing that fixes everything in my life. It's not really like that. Just understanding these core principles. So again, back in that text example, okay, you recognize there's some deeper fear of disappointment and some emotion is coming up. Just tap on your collarbone while you're doing that. Help your nervous system feel a little grounded. Maybe you're not in a place where you look up a full tapping video on, okay, I feel fear of disappointing, but I can allow it a little bit. I can breathe. And if you're comfortable or in a place you can do it, you just tap a little bit on the collarbone or a body point. And in my life, you'll see me doing this in line somewhere if you ever run into me in somewhere in person, because people don't care. Right? So, but there's this underlying process going on behind it all. So the final step is really to just notice the shift. This part can matter more than some people realize, because the little shifts we can get doing this work can be subtle at first. So maybe there's a little bit of, you feel the reaction to that text calming down. Or over time, the text has less of a trigger response. Eventually, no response. It doesn't have to be these giant miracle breakthroughs, right? As the reaction begins to calm down, even, oh, I stayed upset about this a little less than I would, that helps verify to you, oh, I actually am processing things here. So again, you might not read it as long, even in the current text that you're in, the current trigger. You've gone through this process a bit and you're like, oh, I feel like I can put this down. I feel like I don't have to immediately solve this right now. I can finish what I'm doing, come back to this later. It doesn't hook you in the same way anymore. And again, practically what this would look like is you may still have to respond to that text, but when you're responding from a place of trigger, oh my God, I'm afraid they're going to be upset, it's going to leak out in the responses, in some of the words you choose. It's going to carry some energy behind it, even though that can sound a little mystical. You felt that in text messages before, right? It's a way of, wait, let me get to my own more centered place. Then the actions I can take in my life won't be coming from an emotional, fearful, or charged place. So you can extrapolate that sort of text example to all sorts of situations that can be upsetting or triggering. And again, you can watch that framework foundation video for more about triggers. So remember, your system wants to heal. The foundation, the flow, is allowing as the foundation, invite curiosity, feel what's there without forcing it, support allowing yourself to feel the feelings with a process that helps you, like tapping or a certain kind of breathing. Notice the shift, repeat as necessary. So let your system lead the way. You don't have to force the process. Your system inherently wants to go back to homeostasis. What's ready to come up will come up. What's not ready to come up simply won't arise until it's ready. So if you want to practice this directly, you can pick one topic that feels relevant and try a single tapping or guided process from the playlist I'm going to link to here. If you want a little deeper dive with a common pattern of a feeling of I'm not good enough, we'll go through it a little more intensively in a free workshop below called Going Beyond Not Good Enough. You'll see this process in action. Hope it helps. Look forward to hearing more from you soon.